Greetings fellow foamsmiths. So I'm doing a follow-up video now for the paintwork on Cyclops that I've done videos on before on how to do the moulded muscles and the arms and such like, and one of the things that I mentioned in that is that I was going to get into airbrushing. Now I've never airbrushed, so this is a complete new area for me, but I felt that having sprayed this up, I kind of feel like it's quite flat, and whilst there is light reflection that gives shadow and highlights, I kind of wanted to exaggerate that a little bit more, sort of as we're going for the 1990s comic book style. You know, they do the painting of the shadowing in to add depth and you know, to make things pop a little bit more. So I wanted to get into that, but was somewhat concerned as to how do you begin, having never airbrushed before. I watched a few videos, Punished Props, Kamuicosplay, and basically it's a case of get the kit and then crack on. And so I kind of felt like I need to get over myself a little bit and actually do it. Now thankfully I've managed to accumulate enough money to actually justify the investment. So and I guess really that's kind of how it is. So really that's really what I'm into doing. So first thing, before I get into the airbrushing thing, I didn't like the way the back was sitting on this. So what I did is I cut out two slats from here and here because I wanted it to sit into the back a little bit more. So I've done two V cuts and cut out two slats, and I've been waiting for the glue to go off, so I'm just quickly going to put these together, and hopefully that should change the shape a little bit more. So by doing the V cuts, I'm actually forcing the body shape in, so it's not sitting so proud as it was before, because when it sits proud it just didn't sit right with all the muscle technique and everything else that we put in there. It seemed like it was then sort of lost. So I'm just squeezing these things together. Room. So yeah, it is kind of one of those things where it's like, what do you do after the fact when you've done something and then you don't like it anymore, but you don't want to have to rebuild the whole thing. You have to find ways of revising what you've done. Alright, so it is a little bit of forcing it. It doesn't really want to go. But it is only 5mm, so it will have some give. Sometimes you have to just push it a little bit more. Because I did two coats of plastic dip on it, paintwork has remained very flexible, which is good. Come on. There we go. Gotcha. Okay, this side's not sitting so well. So yeah, so it's as with all my videos, you know, it's warts and all. So rather than editing and saying, oh look what a correction I've made, I actually show you how to do it. Every build is a learning curve, so every build has its issues, and you just need to sort of work through it. Okay, so I'll let that sit, but you can see already that the shape's now sitting a little bit closer into the back, which is what I wanted, because it was sitting sort of more curved out, and I didn't like that at all. So put them right together. Right, so just put that back together again. Okay, so although I've gone to the trouble of putting all those muscles in, I want to then shadow it to just make them pop out even more. So here's one I did earlier. So this is it before, with no shadowing, and this is it after. And it just really makes the definition really come out that little bit more, just by adding a little bit of dark shadowing just in the crevices, just to really sort of bring it out. So I did a forearm earlier, so this is the pre, and this is the post, and it just really makes that kind of muscle definition really sort of come out that little bit more, and just add some real depth without actually distracting from the blue. So that's what I've done already. So I've done those two. I'll move them out of the way. So I've still got two to do. So let's quickly go through what I invested in. Okay. So this is the kit: compressor, airbrush, which is a dual action. This came as a kit from Amazon. I'll put the link in the description, along with videos on airbrushing from Punished Props and Kamuicosplay as well, to help you out. But so the kit that I bought was the compressor, the airbrush cleaner and thinner. This is the airbrush that it came with. I also bought some basic Vallejo paints, model air paints. You literally just need a few drops, you don't need a huge amount. So I put that in there. Came with the jars, came with the cleaning tub, which apparently is an essential tool. This is the templates for the legs that I'm going to follow up on as well, which again, sticking with that sort of muscle, I'm doing a mixture of sculpted and moulded muscles there, but I'll do a separate video for that. So I got some water there, and the pipette that came with it as well, which helps you to water down the paint. And it came with two other airbrushes as well, which are behind here, which is a single action and a siphon action. Don't really need to use them at the moment, I'm just sticking with the dual action one. So I've added, so that whole pack cost me £155. I've also got some metallic paints, which is included in that as well. They will be arriving later today, to really give me some really strong finishes for a more metallic finish. So I'm hoping this is going to revolutionise my sort of finished artwork and the actual paint, which is my least favourite part of the building. Although it really sort of finishes the whole thing off, I'm really in that position where it really aggravates me that I can't quite get the finish that I want. So hoping that this is going to be the change for me. So yeah, so that's basically what I bought for my £155. So now this is your basic brush. I've mixed some black and some blue within that, to because I didn't want it to be just straight black, because I thought it would be too much of a contrast, so I wanted to add some blue in just to really bring it down. So yeah, so really it's a case of just getting stuck in. So I'm holding quite far back because I want to create shadow, not a line. I can always go in and create a more defined line after. So it's a matter of finding your crevice and then sort of adding your line in there. Now as it dries, it really settles down, so you can really afford to take a bit of a risk with it, because actually it settles right down. So when it's wet it looks quite, oh, that's like a real harsh line, but as it dries, which is very quick, a matter of minutes, it leaves you in that position then where you are able to, so it's really a matter of how far you push back. I'm being very gentle with it because it's my first time airbrushing, so I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing before I actually went ahead and did it. So I'm being very, very subtle in the way that I'm doing it. Just let that dry for a minute and then I'll show you what it's done, and then you can just keep going back at it until you're happy with the result. But you've got to start somewhere, so it's a question of just starting, isn't it, really? So it's always a risk because you think, oh, I've done such a lot of work on this, I don't want to risk breaking it, losing it, wrecking it and having to start again. But you know, sometimes you just got to do it. It's just cosplay, isn't it, bro? According to Sean Zeng. So let's just go with it. And you also got to bear in mind that the base paint is a gloss sort of spray paint. So from that perspective, it's quite durable. Whereas acrylic paint is water-based. So if you really did get stuck, I'm pretty sure you could just wash it off and start again. Okay. Right, let's see how that dries. To give you an idea of the speed, this is all but dry. You can just see it's subtle shadowing, but it just makes everything pop out just that little bit more. So that's the tricep, that's the bicep. I feel like I need a little bit more along here. So you can see it's starting to come out, and as it dries even more it fades a little bit more, which is why you can be careful of, because you think, oh, I've done too much, but actually as it dries it really begins to settle in, so it's worth doing. Just waiting, you can always go back and do more. The further you hold back, the more a shadow, so you can actually diffuse the line that you've done if you've gone a bit heavy with the line because you held it a bit too close, and then that kind of you can go in and settle that down. But for me, that's really kind of added a definition to the moulding that we did. It's a shame you can't really see the light in here is not ideal. So it looks at, see where it looks like it's a heavy spot there. That's because it's still wet, but as it dries, that will fade, and then you'll find a little bit more. But I might now stretch down a little bit more on there as well. So it's a matter of just continuing to play. Okay, looking good. So happy with that. I'm not trying to repaint it. I'm trying to just enhance what I've already got in place. So from that perspective, I need to make sure that what I'm doing is of a very subtle nature. You know, obviously as you get to know your airbrush and stuff a little bit better, then you can start sort of really sort of going to town on it. So now I think I'm pretty much out of paint, so I'm just going to have a quick look. Now I've got a paintbrush in here, so I'm just sitting in water. Yep, see, that's pretty much out of paint, so it's good because it gives me an opportunity to show you how much I'm using. So I get the black, which is this one. So I'm just going to twist the top off and literally, let's see from that. So I've done like 10 drops of that because I want to add the blue to it. So I want to take the sort of more of a black blue finish to go against the blue background. So I've now got the blue. I'm just going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops of that. So it's 2 to 1, black to blue. And then I'm just going to got my little pipette of water, which is about half full. Three drops of that. Now the consistency apparently is supposed to be like milk, so we'll see how that goes. So just mix them together. Got that there, and then pop the cap back on again. Now obviously I need to have a really good clean of this later on, but that's alright because I've got my cleaner, so I'm going to do that later on. So let's crack on with the chest piece. So let's bring this baby forward so it's a little bit more in focus for you guys. So I have brush, steadying my hand with the other hand, and now I'm just gonna so it's quite far back because I'm just trying to create shadow. So just literally following the crevices that are already in place. Okay, just checking if it bubbles, then there's paint still in there. No, I'm out of paint. That gives you an idea of how far it goes, how much paint you need. So let's add a little bit more. Now anybody that's got experience, feel free to correct me on what I'm doing. Whoops, that's olive green. Wrong. Black. Okay. Take the lid off. That's 20 now, 20 drips. As you can see, these bottles are going to last a long time, and considering they're only £2.70 as opposed to £10 for a tin, or between £7.50 and £10 for a rattle can, I think that's a fairly good sort of thing. But I have to say, painting this whole thing in one colour, that's a different story. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So again, sticking to the 2-to-1 ratio. And then we're just going to add a little bit more water. Okay, and just get the brush, just mix everything up. Okay, back in there, put the lid back on, and away we go. Right, so steady in the hand. You can see it's already started to dry, so I can already see where I need to maybe go over some and look a little bit more around to that. How far you pull back on your finger, getting used to that really, that's quite difficult. So you know exactly how much paint, because just pushing straight down just gives you straight air. It doesn't give you much else. So so really that's kind of where we're at with it. So that really makes that muscle definition really pop out compared to the normal without. So that's with, that's without. You can see certainly along here where you really sort of define the muscles here, and that make the whole thing look so much better. So let's continue. Oh, looks like my camera's had a bit of a wonk, so let me just straighten that out. Bear with. Told you, warts and all. Okay. Better. Don't mind it being a little bit wonky because it actually gives you a better view. So